Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to look at Seas of Havoc. And this is going to be published by Rock Manor Games, and it's a 1 to 5 player pirate game. You're going to be sailing the seas and blowing each other up and trying to get the most points by wreaking the most havoc on your opponents. So let's go ahead down to the table. I'm going to show you how to play this game, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is Seas of Havoc. Seas of Havoc has a lot going on in this game, but in essence, it is a combat game. You can play up to 1 to 6 players in this game, and there is a solo mode, and there's some other modes in this game that have cool monsters and stuff in it, but right now we're going to be talking mainly about the main game here, or the main mode of the game, which is a competitive combat game where you're going to be sailing around this ocean here and blowing up your opponents. You're going to be trying to shoot them, ram them, or you're also going to try to get points from purchasing cards in the market row and getting these infamy points here. When the damage deck runs out, you'll finish that sea phase, and at the end of that sea phase, the person with the most points will win. So how do you play this game? Well, in the setup of the game, you're going to roll to place out these obstacles and these treasures, sunken treasures, and the starting locations of your ship. There's a couple things we're going to talk about in the sea phase for those, but for now, just know that you do that. You're going to place out these flags in each of the locations. You're going to get your starting infamy marker put out. You're going to select a player for the last person that was on a boat, or however you want to do it. You're going to get the deck for the ship that you picked, and you're going to have 2 upgrade cards that come with it. You're going to give each player one of these player guides here so they know the flow of the game itself. And you're going to pick an asymmetric player here, power. So this is the Pirate Queen. And this Pirate Queen's pretty cool here. So this Pirate Queen, at the start of the island phase, gain 2 infamy if you control more flags than any other player. So that's pretty cool. But in addition to that, and your starting cards that are related to your ship here, you're going to get some starting cards from that captain or whoever you picked, that player power that you picked. You're set your sail to 0. Based on your turn order, you're going to get some rewards. That's going to be in the book, but if you're the first player, you don't get any additional rewards. And you'll set out the components here for easy reach for everyone. There's 3 resources in the game. There's going to be these coins, there's going to be these cannonballs, and there's going to be sail. The sail resource is going to be logged with this wheel here. You will also get these little skiffs here, and these skiffs are going to be what you're going to do in the island phase. So once you have all that set up, you're going to start the game. Now, you're going to start with the island phase, and the island phase here specifically is where you're going to get the resources, you're going to get cards, you're going to do all the fun stuff. You're going to draw 4 cards for your turn, and you'll have these in your hands. These are going to be what you're going to be using as your actions in the sea phase. So you'll take your skiffs for the island phase, and you're going to be placing them out on the board here. Now, you could do multiple different things. There's lots of different worker placement spots, but a lot of them only have 1. Some of them will have 2 based on the player count, so the 4+ will be here. Some of them won't be available in a 2-player game like the Trading Post, so this is 3 and 5 player. And this one won't be available at all unless it's 3 or more players. So what do all each of these spaces do? Well, I'll do the island spaces first. You can go to the capital. If you go to the capital, you get to take the start player here, and you'll be able to be the start player in the next phase. You'll also get one of the goods. So you could get a sail, a cannonball, or a coin. If you get a sail, you'll just move your thing up on that. Otherwise, you'll get the cannonball or the money. If you get a cannonball, you're going to need to place it on your cannon here. And you can only have enough cannonballs that fit onto that player board itself. If you get any excess, you just don't get them. That's that location, and you do have 3 workers, skiffs, to put out. But you'll put one out, and the other players will put theirs out, and you'll do it in turn order until all 3 skiffs are out. If you go to the bank here, you can get one of any resource, so the sail, cannon, or money. If you go to the workshop, you can upgrade your ship. At the beginning of the game, you get 2 different upgrades that you can have in the game here. And this one here only takes a sail and a coin, then you get to flip over and you get a really cool ability, and you get these points at the end of the game. This one's more expensive, where it takes a cannonball and 3 coins, but when you flip it over, you'll get your 3 infamy at the game, and you get a super cool power. So that's a workshop. You can go to the trading post, and you can just trade any 2 goods for any other 2 goods. You could go to the shipyard. There you'll get 2 sailing and a cannonball. If you go to the sail maker here, you'll get 3 sail. If you go to the blacksmith, you get 2 cannonball. If you go to the deep cove, you can remove from the game 2 of your cards. Now, sometimes throughout the game, this is a deck building game, you're going to want to get rid of some of your basic cards because maybe they're not good enough. But most of the time when you go to the deep cove, you're trying to get rid of these damage cards because these ones fill up your deck and they're not useful at all. So repair, when you would play this card, scrap it instead. So that's pretty cool, but a lot of times with the deep cove here, you're going to be trying to get rid of those cards. Also, if you scrap one of these cards, you'll get the resources you paid for them back. So you'll get a sail and a coin. So the deep cove is a pretty popular place later on in the game. Also, I'll mention that most of the time you use the deep cove, you could scrap out of your hand or the discard pile. You'll be scrapping out of the discard most of the time because you still need the cards in your hand. You can discard any card just to be able to pass or other things in the game, which I'll show you in a little bit. So those are the main island spaces. Other places you can go is you can get these flags. These flags are pretty cool. They will go onto your player board. If someone else had them, you would take them from them. These will actually give you a synergy bonus potentially with some of the cards you might have in the sale phase, which we'll go over in a little bit. But note that they also give you an immediate effect. Like this one here lets you scrap a card, so remove it from the game if you want. This one here will let you draw 1 card from your deck to your hand, which is really, really cool. This one here will give you any 1 good that you want at all. And this one here will let you immediately take another turn, which is pretty cool. All right. So there's only one other location you can go to, and you can go ahead and put these on the cards here. If you place these on the cards, they stay there. All the other effects get immediately resolved, but the cards don't get resolved until everyone's put out their skiffs and the round is over. When the round is, well, when you're ready to end the round, when the round is ended, here you'll pick up your skiffs from here and you can pick up these cards. You have to pay the resources, and this will go directly in your hand. And if this stays in your hand, at the end of the game, this is how many more points it's going to be worth. Also, when I talked about flags, you also could get this bonus ability down on the bottom if you have that flag during the sale phase. So if you can't play this, then the card will remain there and you'll just remove your skiff. At the end of this round, after all that's resolved, you'll fill the market row back up to 5, and then you're going to go into the sale phase. Now the sale phase, you're all going to take turns playing cards from your hand. On your turn, you'll play 1 card, and these cards, like the basic ones you have, are really simple. You're just going to have to pick one of these routes. So if I pick this one, and I'm the blue player, I would need to move forward 1 or over to the left or right. So if I move here, I will go across the board, and then I can also finish my movement. I could have done this one, so I would actually sail up this way if I wanted to. Or I can sail down here and hit this ship. We'll go over collisions in a little bit. We'll go swing back to that. But that's one example of what you could do with a card. You could play your special player ability card here. So take a flag from the board. Do not use the flag action. If you control more flags than any other player, you'll gain 1 infamy. Now, which is points in the game. The other thing you could do is you could discard a card to pass. Either way, you have to play a card on your turn. If you're out of cards, you're done in the sale phase. The sale phase will continue until everyone has played their cards. Now, if you have cards like, let's get a couple example cards over here. So I have a card like this. Like I said, if you had this flag, you could do the bonus action on the bottom after you finish the top. But here lets you move forward, and then these symbols over here let you fire. And this will tell you the fire, you could fire the cannon, and what the range is, in this case 3. So if my ship is here, and this ship is here, then I get to fire. I'll fire to my left here, and I will need to spend a cannonball to do that. So if I fire on this ship, I will gain 2 infamy. If this ship was either facing this way or this way, I would do a raking shot. In that case, I would gain 3 infamy. The other thing you can do is you can ram a ship. You would have to resolve the collision. In this case, whenever you hit another object, you have to discard a card from your hand. But if you hit a ship, you're still discarding a card from your hand, but you also gain an infamy. Now, the opponent will gain one of these damage cards, and these damage cards are really, really bad, and you want to get rid of them because they're -1 infamy or points at the end of the game. You could also run into solid objects like this reef right here. In that case, you'll have to discard a card and you'll get a damage. You could also run into other obstacles on this course here. If I land on this whirlpool, I'll spin the ship in the direction of the whirlpool, 90 degrees. If I land on this gust here, I will be blown the direction it's pointing. If I land or pass a treasure, I will pick up the treasure. I can look at the bottom, and these are just resources that I could use to pay for things when I need to, and place it down on my mat. You can only have 1 treasure at any one time. If you gain another one, you can discard the one you have or discard the one you picked up. Once you gain a treasure, you're going to roll the dice here. The white coordinates are up here. The black coordinates are here. You're going to take those coordinates, and you're going to place out a new treasure. So a new treasure will go right here. If you land a treasure on where one of these rocks are, you'll just re-roll until you find a location that isn't. So, like I said, you'll continue going on until everyone's played all their cards. At the end of after everyone's played their cards, this will be your discard pile. Then you'll draw 4 more cards and you'll go into the island phase, and you will get to place out your skiffs again in player order. This will continue until the damage deck has run out, and the damage deck is set based on the number of players. Once that damage deck runs out, like I said, you'll finish the sail phase, and then the game will end. Now, at that point, you're going to total up your infamy. You'll have your infamy from during the game, but then you'll also have your infamy that you haven't scored yet, which will be on the upgraded ships if you upgraded any, which will be on the cards you purchased that are in your deck hand or discard pile. And also, you'll subtract points for any of the damage cards that you had in the game itself. Now, there is a tiebreaker if someone ends up to be tied, where the player with the most resources will then win. So the resources are again going to be your sail, cannons, or coins, and coins. If there's still a tie, the person with the least damage wins. And that, in a nutshell, is how you play Seas of Havoc. It's really very easy to teach, and just that simple. It's very easy to set up also. Let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Seas of Havoc. All right, so that was Seas of Havoc. So to start with component quality. Component quality on this game is great. I love the board, I love the art, I love the big wooden chunky pieces that you get in there, and that's all phenomenal. Now, a couple things I didn't show. There's actually several different modules that you can play in this game. You can play with sharks, you can play with monsters. That all comes in this. This game has a ton of replayability. There's going to be all different scenarios that you can run and add in there. So if you get used to playing the base game with your friends, you can throw in the sharks, you can throw in the monsters, you can add more whirlpools, you can add more obstacles. So many things you can do to keep this game nice and fresh. The gameplay for this game is really easy to teach and super fluid. Like, you go into the ship phase, or the island phase, sorry, you just have to explain those worker placement spots. That is actually the most difficult part of the game, to explain all those, and they're very simple. And then you'll explain the sailing phase when you go through all that, and how the ship movement works, ramming, firing, getting the points that way. And when you add those expansions in, it's not much more. It's just one little extra thing that you're going to add in there. overall, I really, really enjoyed this game. Now, this game is a pure combat game. So it's worker placement phase and you have combat. But, I mean, the crux of this game and the way that you get the majority of your points, you do get some from upgrades and gaining cards, but the majority of your points are generally going to be through combat. So if you're into that and you're okay with a good pirate game where you're going to be blowing up other pirate ships, this game I highly recommend for you. I will say as a caveat, even though that is a good, huge portion of the points that you're going to get through combat, the upgrade points, when you upgrade your ships, get either 3 or 2 of the infamy points at the end of the game, and the cards you pick up do make a difference throughout the game at the end. So don't forget about them, but like I said, combat's it. This game, I love this game. This game is definitely going to be one that is going to get a lot of replayability from me, because not only because I like the theme of pirate themed games, but also I like how easy I can teach this game and have fun. Now, initially when I opened this up, I was like, I've played a lot of games that have this hex board on it, and they're not. And you roll dice to put out the new pieces, and they're okay. But this did it in a manner that is phenomenal. Now, one thing I didn't mention in there that I would definitely mention in future teaches, if I ever teach the game to people that have never played it before or are new to board games in general, it's really, really important to mitigate that damage. It can be incredibly devastating if you draw a hand of damage. So that worker placement spot where you get to chuck cards, you get to get rid of the damage during your turn or whatever, you need to get rid of that damage. You need to make sure that when you pull your hand, you at least have several cards that are amazing. You also want to think about purchasing those cards whenever you can, because those are going to be additional actions that you can take on the turn. Also, if you have some damage in your hand, that's another way that you can not have to deal with having less cards necessarily than others, but purchasing those cards in the marketplace is super, super important in the game. But yes, I do love this game. If you love pirate-themed games, if you love combat games, this game I would highly recommend playing. I think it is amazing. It's great. And like I said, the modules for it, which I didn't show in the review, are also a lot of fun. So that's my thoughts on Seas of Havoc.